The Red Planet had become a second home for many. The Earth was now just a distant memory. Generations of humans were born on Mars, living in massive dome structures that protected them from the harsh environment outside. And life was good. There were even rumors about an alien race visiting the planet, but nobody knew if they were true or not. This is our channel. Today we will tell you the story of how humanity conquered Mars. So stay with us until the end to find out what secret the aliens revealed about our world. It all started back in the early 21st century, when scientists realized that if they did and act fast, it would be too late. The window to colonize Mars was closing fast. Climate change on Earth was getting worse, and the resources were depleting. Humanity needed a new home before it was too late. But there was one problem. No one could have predicted what a colonization of the Red Planet would cost. Estimates quickly rose from billions to trillions of dollars. Governments and space agencies struggled to raise the necessary funds. The private sector did not want to invest their money without state support. Time was running out. The window to colonize Mars would close forever in less than 30 years. Elon Musk was one of the few people who didn't give up hope. He announced his plan to send the first manned mission to Mars by 2026. Everyone thought he was crazy. Even NASA believed it would take at least another 30 years before humans could set foot on the Red Planet. Musk didn't care what people thought of him. He knew he was right. Musk founded SpaceX in 2002 with the goal of making life multiplanetary. The company has grown exponentially since then. In 2018, it became the first private space company to successfully launch, orbit, and land a spacecraft. Its next target was Mars. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ocean, something incredible was happening. On April 3, 2017, China's Tianwen-1 spacecraft successfully reached Mars orbit, becoming the first interplanetary probe to reach the Red Planet in over 6 years. A few months later, NASA's InSight lander touched down on Mars. It was the first craft to study the planet's inner structure. In September of the same year, the United Arab Emirates launched its HOPE mission to Mars. All 3 spacecraft arrived at their destination within weeks of each other. And while NASA's InSight studied the planet's insides, China and the UAE focused on Mars' atmosphere. Their goal was to collect data that would help future human explorers survive on the Red Planet. On February 18, 2021, NASA's Perseverance rover landed on Mars. With it, humanity took another step closer to the dream of colonizing the Red Planet. Perseverance explored the crater Jezero suspected to be the landing site of an ancient alien spaceship. Scientists believe it once housed an enormous lake that could have been the cradle of Martian civilization. On May 2021, Perseverance made a stunning discovery. It found traces of organic matter, which suggests that life once existed on the planet. Unfortunately, this news was overshadowed by the arrival of the Chinese rover Zhurong. Zhurong landed on Mars 2 weeks before Perseverance. It was 10 times cheaper to build and explore the Red Planet faster. This achievement shocked NASA and the scientific community worldwide. For the first time in history, 2 rovers explored the surface of Mars. Both collected samples of soil and rocks. NASA believes that one day it might use these samples to determine whether or not life ever existed on the Red Planet. But enough about the past. Let's get back to the future. As we all know, the first crewed mission to Mars arrived in 2026, thanks to Elon Musk and SpaceX. They used the Starship, a fully reusable transportation system, consisting of an upper stage called the Ship and a booster called the Super Heavy. The ship can carry up to 100 people into space. So it's not just a spaceship, it's a real-life ark. The construction of the Starship was completed in 2024. In the same year, it made its first orbital flight. 2 years later, the ship was ready to take its precious cargo to Mars. The crew consisted of 4 astronauts from different countries. They left Earth on March 16, 2026. After a 6-month journey through space, they arrived at their destination. Landing on Mars was not an easy task. The atmosphere is very thin, so the landing had to be done with extreme precision. But everything went according to plan, and the crew landed safely on the surface of Mars. When asked how they felt upon touching down on the Red Planet, one of the astronauts said, "I feel like I'm on another planet." Once the astronauts were sure that their ship was in good condition, they opened the airlock and stepped onto the surface of Mars. They were wearing special suits that looked like shiny silver and gold space suits. But the most important thing was that they were protecting the astronauts from the harmful radiation of Mars. The crew planted the flag of the United Nations on the surface of Mars. It was a symbol of hope for all people on Earth. It showed them that humanity had reached another level. But there was one problem. As soon as the astronauts started exploring the surface of Mars, they realized that it was completely barren. There were no signs of life anywhere. They found lots of rocks and dust, but nothing else. The astronauts were disappointed, but they couldn't give up. They had come too far to turn back now, so they continued exploring the surface of Mars. They walked around in their clunky spacesuits, taking samples of rocks and soil. They also flew around in special helicopters that had been sent with them from Earth. These helicopters were much lighter than the ship, and they allowed the astronauts to explore more areas of Mars. But even after all that, the astronauts couldn't find any signs of life. They started to think that maybe there never had been any life on Mars. Maybe they had been wrong all along. But then something amazing happened. As one of the astronauts was walking around taking pictures, he saw something strange in the distance. It looked like a huge metal object sticking out of the ground. The astronaut walked closer and closer until he could see it clearly. It was a pyramid. The astronaut quickly called the other astronauts over, and together they started digging around the pyramid. They wanted to find out how old it was and who built it. They also hoped that they might find some kind of entrance that would lead them inside. But it wasn't easy. The astronauts had to work for days to dig through all the dirt and rocks that covered the pyramid. But finally, on June 2027, they broke through and found the entrance. It was hidden under a layer of ice that had formed over the years. The astronauts were excited, but they were also scared. What if there were dangerous creatures hiding inside the pyramid? What if it was booby-trapped, but they couldn't turn back now? They'd come too far to give up. They grabbed their weapons and slowly made their way inside. The air was cold and stale, but there was no sign of danger. As they walked deeper and deeper into the pyramid, they started to see strange symbols on the walls. They didn't know what they meant, but they were beautiful. Finally, they came across a room with a huge crystal in the middle. The crystal was pulsing with energy, and the walls around it were covered in more strange symbols. The astronauts didn't know what to do, so they decided to take a sample of the crystal back to their ship for analysis. When they got back to the ship, they put the crystal on a table and started to run tests. Suddenly, the crystal started to glow brightly, and a hologram appeared above it. The hologram showed a group of aliens. They looked like tall, thin humanoids with large heads and black eyes. One of the aliens stepped forward and spoke in a strange language. But the astronauts could understand him. He was saying, "We have been waiting for you. We have been watching you for a long time. You're the ones who are supposed to save us." The astronauts were shocked. They'd found intelligent life on Mars, and it seemed like the Martians needed their help. So that is the story of how humanity conquered Mars. It is a story of courage, determination, and hope. It shows us that, if we work together, we can achieve anything. What do you think? Would you like to live on Mars? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.